So I'm going to start. You guys ready? Okay. Just a quick little message that I want to start off with about the coronavirus and Pesach before I get into more of the religious class on Pesach. Okay. So just before I start going into into the class, I just want to preface by saying that I by no means mean to belittle or make light of the coronavirus in any way, shape, or form. It is without a doubt a terrible tragedy that has come about our world, and many people, have fallen ill. And my class is not meant to, to make light of it at all. I just believe that with tragedies, we can try to find a silver lining in things, and even in the thick of something bad, I think that we should all try to find like a positive impact that it can have on our life. So that's what I aim to do in this class. And I also want to dedicate this class in honor of all the selfless medical professionals that are standing in the front lines now, fighting our battle. So I want to dedicate it in honor of them. So without further ado, I'll start my class. So, wait, let me just fix this thing then. Wait, all right, gotcha. Wait a minute, hold on, why is this? Wait, but I think I left the Zoom meeting. Oh, no, I didn't, sorry guys, okay, all right, I'm starting. Okay, sorry guys, here we go. Okay, so what I wanted to say was the Pesach 2020 has us living in a funny dichotomy, right? We are told to celebrate Pesach, the holiday of freedom, while we are quarantined and trapped in our homes during the coronavirus. So the irony in it all is actually funny if you think about it. The time where we feel the least free is the time that we are told to connect to our story and celebrate freedom. So how do we see past this dissonance? And my question is there really one, right? Can our experience under the coronavirus, to our surprise, possibly enhance our sense of freedom? And can our experience under the coronavirus possibly help us escape a sense of slavery? So I want to first start off by saying that slavery, obviously, I think we're all, old enough and mature enough to know that it's not, simply literally being in chains physically, and it's not, obviously working for an owner, slavery can be found in many different shapes and forms. And the argument that I want to pose to this class today is I believe that dependencies or being dependent on someone or something in life can be a form of slavery. So I think that with the coronavirus, with all the restrictions that it put on our lives, I think that it shed a light on how dependent we have become on external outlets to provide certain experiences for ourselves. And while this is only natural and it's by no means bad, I think that as we go through life, we naturally just build these dependencies on these external outlets. And it takes away our ability to depend and rely on ourselves to get through certain things and to provide certain experiences for ourselves. And it can span from the big things all the way down to the small things. So it can go from, let's just say, it can go from depending on your job to give you a sense of fulfillment, or depending on a synagogue to create a spiritual experience for yourself, or depending on a teacher to teach your children, or it can go from depending on an activity to have fun with a family member or spouse, right? And it could go down all the way to the smaller things, like depending on, I'm a girl, but everybody has their own things, but depending on someone to do your hair or your nails for you, right? And the list can go on and on and on. But I think more importantly, the coronavirus shed a light on the emotional dependencies that we can build in our life. If we're feeling, for example, sad, we can depend on the busyness of our day-to-day routine to distract ourselves. If we're feeling lonely, we could depend on hanging out with our friends. If we're feeling the need to escape, we can depend on, forgetting about our problems and travel the world. So I think that the coronavirus, although it put so many restrictions on us, I think that what we can find is that in actuality, the coronavirus is allowing us to tap in and to open our eyes to our capabilities. Now we no longer have the ability to depend on these external forces to provide certain experiences for ourselves. Now we no longer can rely on these things, and the finger gets pointed to us. We have to create these experiences for ourselves. We have to tap into our inner strength now. The coronavirus is showing us how powerful we are and how strong we actually can be, because we are forced, we have no choice now to depend on ourselves to create certain experiences for ourselves. And that's a very powerful thing. Now you're showing yourself you can be the teacher of your children. You can teach your children. Now you're showing yourself, hey, maybe I can be happy without going to a class or a play. I can be happy with the simple things, with what I have in my own life, with my family and my health. Now you're showing yourself you can create your own spiritual experience with just you and a Siddur. Now you're showing yourself that you don't have to rely on the distractions of the day-to-day. You can confront your own issues and talk to yourself. So I think that that's a very powerful thing. And I think that the coronavirus is allowing us to unleash our inner warrior within ourselves and unleash strengths that we didn't know that we had. And I think it's allowing us to build skills that we wouldn't have been able to build without these restrictions. It's allowing us to feel empowered and allowing us to see how capable we actually are. It's giving us a sense of independence and autonomy that we wouldn't have gotten without this experience. And that ultimately is freedom, unlike anything that we can experience, in my opinion. I think that the coronavirus, more importantly, is, sorry, my daughter just woke up. I think the coronavirus, more importantly, is forcing us to ask ourselves, who are we really when these external outlets can no longer define us? Who are we really when our job can no longer define us? Who are we really when our social life can no longer define us? Who are we really when the way we physically present ourselves to the world can no longer define us? The coronavirus is forcing us into a room with ourselves and forcing us to build a relationship with the person that we may have forgotten about through all these years, ourselves. The coronavirus is silencing the background noise that hushed our own inner voice, and it's forcing us to get in touch with our true selves. And that is such a powerful thing, and that's a freeing thing. We're unlocking our own potential and our own abilities, and the coronavirus is breaking us free from the chains of dependencies on certain things. So I think that through this time, we think that the coronavirus is restricting us, but I think that we can actually see that the coronavirus is actually unleashing our potential, and it's giving us less restrictions than we could have possibly imagined. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that note on the coronavirus, just to preface my class going into it now. So now I want to start. I want to go into the more of the religious approach to this class. Hold on one second. Let me just mute. Okay. So I'm going to go into the concept of change through the lens of the Pesach story. So it seems like God is pretty much obsessed with Yetziat Mitzrayim. Throughout our whole entire Tanakh, there are about 87 verses that allude to us remembering the time where we left Egypt. We are constantly bumping into this line throughout the Torah. And not only that, but its placement is within some of our most important commandments that we have, right? Like the Shema, some things that we can think of on the top of our head, like the Shema, like the 10 Commandments, and the Shalosh Regalim, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, 3 of our most important holidays. What is so important about us leaving Egypt that we have to constantly have it at the forefront of our minds? And why, out of the whole entire Exodus story, did God pinpoint that specific part of the story? Why not remember some of the more awe-inspiring and exciting parts of our Exodus story, like the splitting of the sea, or the 10 plagues? Why do we only have to remember the leaving part? So I think that we can all clearly say that when we left Egypt, we didn't simply leave a physical place on a map. We left an ideology. When we look into the culture and mindset of ancient Egypt at the time, we see that they believed that everything was fixed, everything was stagnant. And we see that by when we look at the society and how they built and how they structured their society. They built their society around what's called a caste system. And a caste system, I'm sure some of you guys learned about this in school. Other ancient civilizations also built their societies around the caste system. But what it is designing a society around a very rigid social hierarchy. And it kind of is like a pyramid. So you have people at the bottom, people in the middle, and people at the top. And there is no movement that can be done within this class system. This class system is rock solid, it's frozen, and there's no fluidity. So if you were born a slave, you would die as a slave. If you were born a peasant, you would die as a peasant. If you were born as a nobleman, you would die as a nobleman. If you were born as a priest, you would die as a priest. It didn't matter who you were as an individual. It didn't matter what your capabilities were. The status that you were given was the status that would remain with you for the rest of your life. So we see that they believed in a lack of change. And not only that, but this extends to the religious beliefs that they had, this mindset. We see that religiously, the Egyptians believed in predestiny. They believe that your life is pre-designed, preordained, and pre-planned. You don't really have a choice in it all. Your impact doesn't matter. The way things were set up originally is the way that things will happen. So that's a pretty scary thing, because when we don't believe that things can change, we're basically getting rid of the concept of hope. How can we have any hope if the way things are the way things will be? There's no ability for things to improve or get better. And I think that that's why God is so obsessed with us leaving Egypt. Because Egypt represented a mentality that represented the complete and absolute antithesis of what it means to be a Jew. To be a Jew is to believe in teshuvah, is to believe that we can grow, we can right our wrongs, that we can improve ourselves. To be a Jew is to believe in the power of free will, to know that you have a choice in life, and to know that the way things happen in your life are because you were actively a part in making that happen. And to be a Jew is to ultimately believe in change, right? We see that slaves became free. That would have never happened in the Egyptian mentality. The way you are is the way you will be for the rest of your life. No, the Jewish story shows you that a slave can become free, and that extends far beyond that simple story. Jews believe in change, and therefore Jews provide hope in the world. I think that the Jewish story is a story that revolves around hope, because we believe that the way things are is not the way things need to be in life. And what better way is there to approach this whole coronavirus tragedy with a Jewish mindset of believing that things are not stagnant, that things can be fluid, that things can evolve. God is obsessed with us leaving Egypt because the Jewish nation could not have been founded and could not have been formed within the soil of Egypt. We couldn't have become the nation, and we couldn't have defined what it means to have our mentality and what it means to be a Jew within that toxic and poisonous environment of believing that things cannot change. And that's a very, very, very powerful message in our life. We have to believe that things can get better. We have to believe that things can improve. And we have to believe that things can evolve and develop, because that's ultimately what it means to be a Jew. And that's why at the tip of our tongues, we have recited 3 times a day in the Shema, we have to remember leaving Egypt. We cannot get stuck in the mentality that things are stuck and that things will be the way they are and that things are stagnant and that things are frozen. Things always have the ability to change. So with that, I leave you a happy holiday. I hope that everybody going through this time is staying safe and healthy. I hope that we're all, following, the special CDC guidelines, making sure that we're all staying safe and cooperating. And hopefully, B'ezrat Hashem, everybody who's struggling with the illness will get better, a speedy recovery, and when Mashiach comes, have a great, great holiday, guys. And hopefully, I could hear from you guys soon.
Amen. Thank you, Danielle.
Bye. See you guys.
So nice. Thank you.
Danielle, do you hear me?
Wait. Yeah, I hear you.
No, there's video on here.
I saw it now. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to leave the meeting, guys, okay? Does anybody have any questions, or do we want to discuss anything?
Hi, Rena.
Hey, Didi.
What's up, people?
Sally.
That was a great class, Danielle. Thank you.
Great, Danielle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.